Algebra students, I hate to even call this a video because it's a basic application of what you've been doing. How do you multiply a plus b quantity squared? Well, you remember that a plus b quantity squared means a plus b times a plus b in parentheses. And now we just go through the process of a times a times b times a, b times b. When you do that, you get a times a squared, a times b times a, ba, and b times b squared. Now, rearranging BA as AB to see that these are like terms, and you get a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. And this is a formula that many algebra students memorize because this is something you multiply together so often. How does a plus b quantity squared multiply? Well, it multiplies to a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. And sometimes I get a problem like this. What's 3x plus 2 squared? And I go, oh, well, that's 9x squared, a squared, plus 2 times a times b, so 12x plus b squared plus 4. And I can just jump to that answer so quickly because I know this formula. The exact same thing can be said for a minus b quantity squared. The only difference there is now the middle terms are both negative. So when you multiply this out, you get a squared minus ab minus ba, but plus b squared because a negative times a negative is positive. Now rearranging to get like terms, this is minus ab, and now the formula is a squared minus 2ab plus b squared, and that comes from a minus b quantity squared. Those two formulas will be very helpful at higher levels of algebra. I suggest you memorize them. Hold on tight, we got one more formula. You may not memorize those other two formulas, and you may always just take something like 4x minus 5 quantity squared, write it out as 4x minus 5 times 4x minus 5, and then use that acronym FOIL to help you remember how to do it. That's first, outside, inside, last. The first product is 4x times 4x, or 16x squared. The outside product is 4x times negative 5, or negative 20x. The next product is negative 5 times 4x, and negative 20x. And the last product is negative 5 times negative 5, which is positive 25. Noticing the like terms in the middle, and you might just have a final answer of 16x squared minus 40x plus 25, and you may never use that formula of 4x quantity squared, 2 times 4 times 5 is 40, and then 5 squared 25. You may never memorize that formula, and that's okay. I think you can get away with it this year. I think you will want it next year, so it's worth doing. But you could get away without memorizing these formulas this year. You could always write it out, and you don't have to worry too much about speed. There's one formula that you do want to memorize. It's just so much easier to understand it, to see it, to recognize it quickly. And that formula is called the difference of two squares. And the difference of two squares looks like this. A plus b times a minus b. A times a is a squared. A times negative b is negative ab. B times a is positive b times a. And b times negative b is negative b squared. Rearranging and collecting like terms, I get a squared minus ab plus ab, and then minus b squared. Well, these middle terms here cancel. A negative AB plus an AB cancels, and your final answer becomes a squared minus b squared. This gets its name, a difference of 2 squares, because it is a difference of two squares. I know, you're sitting there going like, really, Stubbs? But yes, that's what it's called. It's called the difference of two squares, and you will see it all the time. And that's the formula that could really make your life easy by knowing. It actually has a name, the difference of two squares. So, recapping all of this information, we have special formulas for a plus b, quantity squared, a minus b, quantity squared, and then we have a difference of two squares, which is a plus b times a minus b. You can never use this 2 and bring it into both of those like it was ab squared, which would equal a squared b squared. Remember, there's no addition or subtraction here. It's just multiplication. That's why you can do this. I say all the time that multiplication is easy. It's addition and subtraction that cause problems. You cannot move this square into both of those terms, and people will want to. They will want to say that a plus b quantity squared equals a squared plus b squared, but that is not true, and so you can't do that. You need to know that this becomes a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, that this becomes a squared minus 2ab plus b squared, and this last thing becomes a squared minus b squared. I think you should know all three. I think you should be able to produce all three. I think you should understand all three. It's just an extension of what you've been doing. That's about it when it comes to polynomials. So we might do one more lesson about naming polynomials, but I might even just skip that for now and save it for later. All right. Peace.